Hey guys, happy Monday. Today is Monday, October 14th, 2019. I'm super excited to be here with my friend, fellow Citrus Club member Michael Brodsky is on the show today. So let us know you can hear us and see us. That's always important. The first show of a Monday is always a John Kalish. By the way, John Kalish, that was a great event on Saturday. Blessed and honored. Do you know Batman? That's John.
I do know Batman.
Yes, so that's John.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Francis Garcia
right.
is on. So give us a thumbs up or a heart. Let us know you can hear us and see us. Gary Urbanski's on. Where's the wine, Gary? It's that kind of Monday. I was telling Michael my insanity that there is, and he's trying to set up a watch show.
Trying to do a watch party.
You do you.
Figure that out.
But it was a fantastic weekend, a great week last week. Very blessed and honored to be part of a Hero Foundation gala, the gala with John Kalish and his team, his wife Andrea. By the way, Andrea called me, John, and let me know that I won something, and I need to call her back. So let her know that it was me that won something, and you're going to laugh because I think it was the crowns I bid on because, you know, what else was I going to bid on? The tiaras. So welcome, Michael. Thank you for being on. We got a thumbs up.
Thank you, Ted. Good to be here.
So we've been trying to do this for a while.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we just spent 30 minutes trying to tag each other in posts, and that's been fascinating. All in
Facebook gets tougher and tougher all the
Facebook
time.
is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for old people like me. I'm like, where is his name? But you've got a lot going on. You are very super involved.
That's true.
And you're
true.
super
Yes.
involved, and you're a big wig here at the club.
I don't know about that.
I mean, in my mind, you are.
Thank you. Okay.
But I'm super excited. So let's get to the basics. People always like to know origin story.
Sure.
They like to know about you. I love the title of the show, Incremental Improvements.
Yes.
There's something different about that, and I love that.
Yeah.
Taking one step at a time, I'm assuming, is what we're going to be eventually talking about.
Absolutely.
And you know how much I do research, so that was a guess on my part.
That's right.
So tell them a little bit about you. Enough of me talking.
Well, sure. Just to kind of bring everybody up to speed, to go back, I grew up in Connecticut, went to Yale University undergrad where I majored in economics.
You're a Yale grad?
I'm a Yale grad, yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
my God, and you're sitting next to me? I hope I don't suck the intelligence right out of you.
And not only that, but I actually run the local Yale Alumni Association here in Central Florida, as well as the All Ivy Club. I know
You're very down to earth for that. I like it.
It sounds impressive, but really nobody wants the job. So it's sort of been a benevolent dictatorship for about the past 20 years.
That's awesome.
Nobody wants to take over the responsibility. But so I've been doing that for a while. But after Yale, I went on to get my MBA from Duke. And became a big Blue Devils basketball fan, of course. And
so Yale to Duke.
Yale to Duke, yes.
Go Knights!
Go Knights, that's right. Well, now that I'm here in Orlando, I can cheer on the Knights also. But
because we're not in that league, right? For
well,
football,
UCF
especially.
Played Duke in the NCAA tournament.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
Yeah, I was happy with the outcome. Though I know a lot of Knights were not. After getting my MBA, and while I was at Duke, actually, is where I first got involved with television, actually, and maybe that's another conversation we can come
I'm
back
fascinated
to,
by this because, of course, like I know I joke about it, but I really don't do any research. So I just know Michael is a really cool guy, and he's got incremental improvements. And then I didn't know about the TV part. So how did you get involved with that?
Well, I guess we'll talk a little bit about when I was at Duke. They had a cable television network known as Cable 13 at Duke University. And when I first got to the business school, I had signed up for an organization called Fuqua Looks at Business. They had a TV show that was on Cable 13. And after several months, I was noticing nothing was happening with this TV show. And I was asking, like, what's going on with the TV show? And they basically kind of said to me, you know, we do business all day long. The last thing we want to do is a TV show about business. Nobody wanted to do it anymore. So they said, if you want, you can have the show. And what I realized is nobody else wanted to do a TV show about business, but I did find some people that were interested in doing a TV show if it was a little bit more fun. So we ended up creating sort of a sketch comedy show based on life around the business school. And so that's when we created
Did you have a
Fuqua Vision.
Fuqua Vision.
And Fuqua, I should point out, Fuqua is the name of the business school. That's where the name comes from. So it's the Fuqua School of Business at Duke University. And you were asking about...
Well, I'm fascinated. How did you get into... But how did you know to do sketch comedy? Like, did you practice this as an undergrad? Are you a comic, an in the closet comic? Like, what was happening that you actually did that?
I did have a theatrical background growing up throughout high school and even into college. did a lot of theater. Actually trained at Stage Door Manor, the Performing Arts Training Center that has generated folks like Robert Downey Jr. and
Wait, so you acted?
I did a lot of acting in theater. Yes.
Nice. So is there anything that we can Google and find?
I was.
Are you on IMDb?
I'm not on IMDb, but
DB.
But my bacon number is 2. Or I usually tell people it's 3 because the 3 path is a lot cooler. But I was in the movie old enough, and I guess that may be something you could look up.
Your bacon number. You guys have to Google that if you don't understand what that is. It's awesome.
Anyway, so when I got to Duke, I really didn't have a TV background, but I had that sort of theatrical background, and just thought it would be fun to do a TV show. So I kind of learned TV on the fly, pretty much, and had an opportunity to put this show together. And we started producing these episodes of the sketch comedy show, and
because it's really hard to make business funny.
Well, it is,
right? I mean, that's a lot of work.
Yeah,
People don't.
Yeah. What's amazing though is the show is actually still going on over 28 years later. It's still on the air, and so as a result of having created it, I'm still known as the godfather of Fuquavision when I go back to the business school.
Nice. We should have hashtagged that.
Well, we can.
The godfather of Fuquavision.
There's a whole page devoted to the backstory of Fuquavision. You can look it up, or maybe we'll put it in the comments. We'll see. But there is actually now a YouTube channel, and the videos are available on demand, and you can see me. There was one sketch that we did where Leah Thompson of Back to the Future appears on screen with me, and that was kind of neat.
No way,
and,
that's really cool.
Yeah, did a little promo with the Soup Nazi, if anybody remembers.
Loved him.
Soup Nazi from
Seinfeld.
Of course, yeah, so he did a little promo for us too. So there's some cool stuff that's out there, and maybe we'll throw some links.
That's right brains, right? How does somebody with the creative brain, somebody creative, then you've got Yale and Duke,
yes,
and business, right?
Yeah.
They seem like they're completely separate.
Totally, right?
So is that is comedy still your release?
I don't know about that anymore. I mean, it's nice to be able to still connect with the show when I go back to Duke University. Sometimes I'll do some of the things. They actually do a reunion episode now each year as part of the reunion weekend, so I'll kind of maybe chip in a little something once in a while. So that's just a fun thing to do. But after coming out of business school, I was able to kind of segue into a career in television. I was a TV news producer with the NBC affiliate out of West Palm Beach. Nice. And that was pretty neat. Have some great stories about my time in TV, working as a news producer and some of the experiences there.
Not in front of the camera, behind the camera.
I was behind the camera. That's right. I was behind the camera. If I ended up on screen, it was more, usually you could when they would cut into the newsroom to tell you what was coming up on the 5:30 newscast, you'd see me frantically typing away at the keyboard, trying to get ready for the 5:30 newscast.
Back in the day.
And so if I was on screen, it was more accidental, but I was really the one putting the words in the mouth of the anchors.
So when did you shift? When did you shift and go, all right, so now I'm going to be full-time in business. Not that that's not a business, but it's different. It's different.
Yeah. So what got me up to Orlando was actually another TV job. I was working with America's Health Network as a producer for them. And it was around the time that I was getting married that I kind of realized to get where I wanted to get to in TV, I'd have to be willing to keep moving around the country from market to market. Right. And knowing that I was getting married and I wanted to have a family, and Orlando was a pretty great place to raise a family.
I agree.
Let's be realistic. It's wonderful.
Totally
here.
Agree.
So I knew I needed to go for a bit of a career change. And having majored in economics at Yale, having had my MBA at Duke, I knew that I could go back to financial services. And that's basically what I did. I ended up switching over and starting with, it was my wife and I had gone on our honeymoon. We came back on a Saturday, and by Monday I was starting at Smith Barney in Winter Park, and this is back in 1997.
So does that, I don't know if anybody remembers Smith Barney, but that was big. That was a giant name in financial planning, being a financial advisor.
Right, and I'd actually interned with Shearson Lehman Hutton way back when I was an undergrad at Yale, and for anybody that has followed the changing of the names, Shearson Lehman Hutton sort of evolved into Smith Barney over the years, and of course the Smith Barney name has since been absorbed by Morgan Stanley.
Is that who it's part of now?
It's now part of Morgan Stanley, right? So our team had moved from Morgan Stanley Smith Barney to Ameriprise back in 2010, and I've been there since.
So what was that like? So what's it like to go from, I feel like there's creativity on the right brain part of it when you're in the arts or in TV or in theater. Yeah. And then you have to be because I still have my life and health license, but you have to be very structured because there's a lot of compliance issues and things. So to me, it's a completely different world. So what was that like for you?
It was a little different. I think what's interesting is having worked in television, one of the things that I learned was how to, on the one hand, craft a message and also communicate in a way that everybody was going to be able to understand, or at least a large enough audience would be able to understand. So I've always been very careful about when I'm talking financial terms, making sure that people are going to understand it.
Right.
Because let's face it, when it comes to financial planning, financial services, investing, a lot of times it just goes right over everybody's head. I mean, they don't get it.
Well, yeah, it's not easy to understand, and then you also don't know who to trust. That was used to be the biggest challenge on, let's say, life insurance, which is just a small part of financial planning.
Sure. Sure.
But people would, first of all, you don't ever want to talk about your own mortality, right? And then you certainly don't want to share your private business with anybody, to share your accounts and how much money you make and what you're investing. So it takes a lot of time and trust. So I could see how you could utilize your training and working with people and improv and stage to get people to feel comfortable around you.
I think that's a big part of it, is just being able to communicate with people, and oftentimes about very complex subjects, and turning them into simpler terms. And so that was something that I think really kind of set me apart maybe from other financial advisors that are out there. And it's also, to a large extent, what kind of ultimately resulted in the book that we'll be talking about shortly too.
I'm ready. Good segue. Good TV producer right here on the show.
So the book is, of course, Incremental Improvements, Change Your Life One Small Step at a Time. But where it came from was originally when I was a financial advisor with Smith Barney. I found myself having conversations with a lot of folks, talking with people, whether I was doing a 401k meeting or talking with people one-on-one about their personal financial planning. But what I found was that people were asking me about more than just the money. They're coming to me for advice on other aspects of their life.
Sure.
It could be just about anything, and oftentimes had really nothing to do with money, nothing to do with financial planning whatsoever. It was more, they saw me as a life advisor, and they just wanted to pick my brain and get my thoughts about all kinds of different aspects of their lives. So the book originally was sort of a way that I was kind of crafting my message. I was kind of typing up notes to myself about how do I tell this story, how do I get this information relayed to the people that I was trying to talk to. And I would try to fine-tune that message, craft the message a little bit better. And over time, I kind of realized there was this sort of like a book developing. And it was when our team moved over to Ameriprise, I found out that I could put a book out. There were a lot of hoops I had to jump through because, as anybody...
Guys, compliance. Trust me.
FINRA,
it's insane.
FINRA regulations.
I don't even like to say that F word out loud.
Absolutely. But FINRA has a lot of regulations, so I had to get approval just to be able to have the book out there and disclose that I was an author. And also, our compliance department did have to review the book, and that was about an 8-month compliance review by the time it was done. But eventually, after they said, okay, you got to take out this section, put in these footnotes, put in these disclaimers, change this, change that, and then eventually said, okay, now it's good to go.
That's awesome. So you had the idea, but I love it because there's still something to it. Incremental improvements, right? Mm-hmm. So that still goes back to you're a trusted advisor, it's small steps. One thing that I want to comment on, the reason I think that there's this trust level, and so what happens is, I can use this word because I'm not him anymore, life advisor, I love that thought process, because once they trust you with things that are super important to them, money is a very difficult thing to trust people with, and then you feel comfortable with someone like Mike, then you want to share everything with them because you don't trust everybody with your inner secrets and what's going on in your business, what's going on you become like a real advisor, almost like a counselor. They don't use those words anymore either. I'm dating myself. But I love that. But incremental improvements, the reason I love that title is because I feel like people want to get from A to B, and they don't realize there's 90 steps in between sometimes, and it's okay to have those steps. And I think people get frustrated with themselves because they're comparing themselves to what you see on social media, or what you read in the news, or the articles in magazines. And so they don't want to take the teeny steps. They want to know how they can be Michael Brodsky now, right now.
I think that's a very good point. I mean, we're heading into the fourth quarter here, and let's face it, if we think about, a lot of people are going to start thinking about their New Year's resolutions. And there's a statistic that if this is not me making this up, you can Google it, it's legit, but basically, of all the New Year's resolutions, 80% of them will fail by Groundhog Day. People just give up. They give up. And the reason is, a lot of times people will think sometimes too big. They'll say something like, my New Year's resolution is I want to be a millionaire, or I want to lose 20 pounds. And the problem with that is, let's be realistic. Nobody becomes a millionaire overnight unless they find the right lotto ticket or something like that. Or nobody's going to lose 20 pounds. Like, even if they starve themselves for the whole week, they're not going to lose 20 pounds. It's just not going to happen. So the reality is, people will eventually give up because they realize they're not achieving that goal. They're not getting any closer. And what they really need to think about is, what steps can they take today? I often talk about, instead of thinking in terms of New Year's resolutions, how about New Day's resolutions?
I love that.
Right? So just thinking about, what can I do today? What one thing can I do to improve my own life, to improve someone else's life, or to improve the world around me?
Because I think people get defeated, right? So if you set this giant goal like Mike's talking about, I want to lose 20 pounds in a week, or I want to make $1 million. Then day 2, when you have to implement the things and you don't succeed, or you don't do what you think you should have done in your mind, you become defeated, and then you give up. And a lot of people give up on that because they're not taking the incremental steps.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, certainly there are steps that you can take to achieve those ultimate goals. And there's nothing wrong with having that as an ultimate goal. But what you need to do is think smaller, think in terms of bite-sized pieces here. Maybe it may mean, if you want to be, for the person that wants to be a millionaire, how about starting with, I'm going to take $25 out of my paycheck and save it.
Correct.
And then I'll do it again with the next paycheck. And for someone who's trying to lose a bunch of weight all at once, figure out, how do you cut 150 calories out of your diet from one day to the next? Or, maybe instead of getting the fried chicken or fish, like get the grilled, or, what choices can you make that you can live with on a day-to-day basis that will get you a little bit closer to the goal that you're aiming for. Like, for people that are trying to run a marathon, it's kind of the same thing. You're not going to just get up one day and go run a marathon. No. Maybe you got to start by jogging around the block a little bit, and then you try to work your way up to running a mile, and then maybe 2 miles, and so on and so forth, until eventually, all of a sudden, you're a marathon runner. But that process takes a long time.
It takes time, and we're such everything has to be immediate. We're an immediate culture, right? It's got to be immediate satisfaction. You have to have it now. And so then people don't allow themselves that time to build up. You can't be Mike Brodsky if you haven't gone to, I'm not saying Yale or Duke, but you can't do what he's done. He had to do steps too. Right. It's the same. People will say, oh my God, you've got this show, Ted. It must be so cool up there. Well, I had to learn. Go back and watch show number 1 through XYZ, and you're going to see it's a different presentation every day. Why? Because I learned and I grew. But I couldn't have ever been where I'm at now at whatever episode we're at with Mike, 440 something. Yeah. I would have never been here if I hadn't just taken the incremental steps. I could not just go, hey, I want to be a Facebook Live show, and then all of a sudden I'm the best and I'm the expert and people are flocking to me for advice. That did not happen for a very, very long time.
Right.
And I think people get too caught up, and then they're so hard on themselves that they just give up and say, I can't do it. And that's the wrong way to approach things.
Well, you're right. It is that desire for instant gratification. And in this culture, certainly over time, whether you could point back to MTV, maybe that whole generation, and then certainly with social media, we've taken it to the next step where, with Twitter, where you're trying to get messages across in 140 characters, everybody they're thinking in terms of instant gratification, immediate results, and it's really not how the world works, right? So, it's just a matter of kind of taking the bigger picture point of view and looking on a day-to-day basis, what can you do to get where you're trying to get to, and have the patience and to really just break it down to
so what's the first step? What can somebody do? Like, what would you recommend somebody do if they have a goal, like they want to reach something? Let's not take millionaire, because that's just, God bless you if that's your goal, but let's take something. I want to make a career change because I believe that I'm good at XYZ.
Yeah.
What are some first steps that they can take? What are some things that you would encourage them to do?
Well, I think first of all, for someone who's looking to change careers, it's a combination of, on the one hand, maybe building up the right network. Certainly you and I bump into each other a lot at networking events. But also there's an education component. Depending on what job you're looking to move into, do you have the education that's needed to move into that job? If you don't, you need to maybe take some night classes or take some classes online. And what's great about the world today, if there's one bright side to social media, it's that there's a lot of free information available. I mean, there are a lot of websites, whether it's Coursera or Audacity, I believe, or a couple of them, where you can get a lot of great free information on a lot of different topics through the internet. And if you need to, there are certainly a lot of colleges that you can enroll in, take night classes, or try to study things on your own. There's plenty of information out there, plenty of books that can be read. So it's a matter of, again, figuring out, based on what you're trying to do, getting that education, building the networks, making the right contacts, and over time, you can then have the courage maybe to make that change from the career that you've been in that you're not happy with, and move into the career that really excites you and that that's where you really want to pursue.
Because we always encourage people to take a leap of faith on the show, but you still have to have your ducks in a row, right? You kind of have to, I'm not gonna, I've been looking at videos because I want to, we're gonna do a new show called Ted Tries, ... So it's gonna be all these interesting things I'm gonna try I've never done before.
Like that,
but one of the things that is about that is that there are things that I think I know how to do, and I'm looking at YouTube videos, or Audacity is a great one. You're looking at these things and you're learning. I'm like, I don't know anything about that. Well, I had to minimize what I was going to say. I don't know anything about that. So you sit there. It's a G. Well, sometimes. But how cool is it that you have the ability to find that information out there? So if you want to learn how to plant a bush, or you want to learn how to cook, I don't know how to do that either. You want to learn a new job. Maybe you want to learn more about being a financial advisor. Maybe you want to learn more about insurance. There are so many resources, like Mike was saying, out there nowadays that you can learn, but you just don't want to declare, hey, I'm going to be a financial advisor, and go sit for the exam and have no idea what you're getting yourself into as a career move. Or leaving a job that has health benefits, 401k, you still have to pay your, you had me at networking, yes, Angelina, I love her. Still have to pay, she's awesome.
She's awesome.
Still have to pay all of your bills. Please don't make that leap if you don't have a plan to have that safety net under you. But that's why the incremental steps and the incremental improvements are so important.
Right, absolutely. And really in the book, you'll find a lot of ideas that you can certainly feel free to take and implement in your own life. And also, what I often hear when people have actually read the book, a lot of times they'll come up with their own ideas. You know, they're not in the book specifically, but they'll sort of take those strategies and just sort of bring them into their own life, whatever the issue might be that they're working on.
Well, we were talking about Maggie and I, or was it Maggie or Lisa? One of us, we were all talking that in the book there's relationships. So it's the same thing. I mean, it doesn't always have to apply to business, so to speak. It can apply to relationships, friendships, romantic relationships. The thing is that we want, what did you say? Instant gratification really was the word I was looking for earlier. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
But we all want it now. And instead of putting the work into it, because everything that we do does involve work and commitment. It's not just easy. It doesn't come, I don't know anybody who it's come 1,000% easy to. Even my friends that were born with money, tons of money, when they want to do what they want to do, they still have to work at it. So you just aren't born like Michael Brodsky, and all of a sudden you're a big financial advisor guru with a book out called Incremental Improvements. You have to work there. You have to have gone through your own steps, your own incremental steps, which is really cool.
Oh, sure. I mean, the book took really a long time to sort of come together, but eventually, after a period of time, it came together. But it's also important just to really think about the impact that you can have, not just career-wise, but I think also it's important to think about the impact we have on others as well. And I do try to spend a lot of time involved in a lot of community volunteering.
You are super involved in the community.
That's true, and a lot of mentoring and that sort of thing. So I enjoy that. And I think it's important for everyone really to think about the impact that they can have. I think everyone's sometimes we get so focused on our own careers that we forget what the impact that we can have on others. And so it's important to kind of think beyond ourselves and think about the impact that you can have on the life of someone else, a young professional coming up, or a student,
it's
or
true.
Just within the community, some of the different volunteer positions that I've
You
had.
probably get asked this, but I love to tell the story because I get asked it a lot. I get asked, how can you do all you do in the community?
Yeah.
And my response always is, I've had to learn this response, is how can you not?
Yeah.
So I'm amazed that we have I'm amazed at people who don't do anything, and I'm not just talking charitable. Pick your battle, pick your thing that you want to do. If it's the arts, trust me, they all need help. But if you have a passion, then you should get involved. I'm amazed at the number of people who don't have something that motivates them to get involved. So that's why I love to present all of the different charities and groups and events that go on the TED Show, because if I don't, I'm afraid people won't know about them. And I think there is somebody out there that it will spark to get involved and to do more. But I have friends my age. It's this interesting group between my age group, which I'm not going to tell you my age group, but my age group and a little bit younger. There's this 10-year span. It is completely foreign to a lot of them to do that much work in the community. And I can't imagine my life without that.
Right. Well, I do find it to be very rewarding. I've been involved on the board of directors for the Mustard Seed. I'm currently the vice chair. I mentioned earlier the Yale Alumni Association. Oh, it's a great organization. Mustard Seed Furniture and Clothing Bank, and I'll be sure to put the link in the comments, of course, later. But the Yale Alumni Association of Central Florida, the Yale Ivy Club of Central Florida. I'm also involved with, I'm currently the president of the Jewish Chamber of Commerce as well. And I like to say interim president because I really would like for someone else to take over that position. I've got way too much on my plate right now.
Nobody's following your steps right now,
Not
Mike.
yet, but we're actually building up a board, and I'm pretty sure we'll develop someone pretty soon. And also World Sports Alumni has been a great organization. I've been on the business board of directors for World Sports Alumni. And over the years, I've been involved in many other boards and lots of other volunteer activities. But I love it. I mean,
What do you say to people who say, you're just doing that for business, Mike? Because I get that a lot, too.
But it's more than just about business. I mean, yes, obviously, part of what I do as a financial advisor is just trying to get my message out there.
Correct.
And, but what I find is the more involved I get in the community, the better results I'll see from a business standpoint, of course. But I feel good. I feel better knowing that I'm helping out other people. It's a great feeling. And, a lot of times people kind of wonder how I'm able to do all these different things. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as I'm asleep by about 11:30 and I'm awake at about 5:30, in between, I'm busy running around doing something all the time. I mean, there's always something on my plate, whether it's working or whether it's volunteering or being involved in doing something. I can't sit still, but I love it. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can.
All right, so we're going to share all of. See how fast it goes? Did you cover all? Mike has 90 pages of notes here that you can't see, which I love.
The notes are for you.
No, I don't do notes.
Now I know.
I'm not sure I can read, Mike. We're going to share all of Mike's contact information, how you can reach out to him, how you get involved in anything that he's doing, how you can get the book, which is backwards. That's why we try not to, but we'll share the link, Incremental Improvements, because we want to encourage you guys to go out and do something to make a change for you and for the better. Because trust me, it's going to impact the world in a better way as you make a change to the things that you're supposed to be doing or you feel like are your gifts. So we're big on mentorship on the TED Show and TED's community. We want to get more people involved like we were talking about. So I love it when the guests, my friends, share a mentor or two that made an impact on them and give them a public shout out.
Well, sure. I would definitely point to at Yale University, I had the privilege, really, of studying with David Swenson, who manages the Yale Endowment, as well as Robert Schiller, who won the Nobel Prize for Economics. And just some of the lessons that I learned from them sitting in their classes are obviously hugely valuable to me as a financial advisor. But really, there are so many mentors, and it's so hard to list everybody. But if you think back to all of the teachers that all of us have had, I mean, they've all had an impact. Or, going back to, we talked about Stage Door Manor earlier. I think about some of the folks that I was involved with that might have directed me in a show or might have taught me in a class of some sort. And it's just those lessons cumulatively add up to become who we are today. So, that's why it's been so important for me to be a mentor in some way and help out and give back when I can.
Good. All right, give back, guys. Did you hear that? We want you to give back. We want you to get involved in our community. I don't care what your interest is. There is somebody out there, some organization that could use your talents and gifts, and we want to get you involved. Maybe you also, I had a lot of people who've come on the show that sit here blank before we go live and say, I have no idea who to thank. And that's an interesting challenge, but I think we've all had somebody who directed us, changed the trajectory of our lives, and I think that it would be wonderful if you could get involved and get out. This is the season. It's coming up. I mean, we're almost to November, and the last 2 months of the year are just crazy as far as anything charitable goes. They're all trying to help as many people as possible. So get involved in your community. Reach out to Mike Brodsky, who's amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show, my friend.
My pleasure.
You're awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And then we'll share all his contact information. You guys have a blessed and amazing October 14th, and we'll see you soon. Mwah.
Thanks, Ted.